Hey, and welcome back to another video. Now, today's video is a really special video which has been months in the making. Not because the video was long or anything like that. It's because the subject of this video has been really uncooperative, to say the least. The phone that we're going to talk about today is a unreleased Motorola phone from 2008 that was cancelled 14 years ago in 2008, and is a prototype by every definition of the word. It's very rudimentary, it's not polished, it's a mess. And this phone only turns on when it feels like, at random. So when you're trying to make a video on something like that, it's kind of hard because you gotta wait till the phone turns on, not when you want the phone to turn on. And then you gotta be ready with your camera and everything out to get some recording of the phone working. And it's made worse when the phone doesn't stay turned on for too long either. The max this thing would turn on is for 12 minutes. That's at max that I've got it to work. So it wasn't easy making this video, but I'm pretty sure it's worth the wait, as this phone is really interesting. Now, please, if you do like this video, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up on the like button down below, and please show some support to this video by helping it get on YouTube's algorithm. This video was not easy to make, but I still managed to do it because everyone wanted to see this phone. And I mean, I understand, because this phone is extremely rare, and this is the only working one that I've seen personally. So please show some support by liking this video and also leaving a comment down below and letting me know what you think about this phone, or how long you've been waiting to see this video, and anything you just want to let me know in general down in the comment section below. So, what is this phone? I've not even showed it properly on camera yet. This is the Motorola RIZR Z12 or Motorola Project Skarven. It was designed as the Project Skarven, but it may have been released, if it was ever released, as either the RIZR Z12 or the Moto Z12 Zine. I'm not really sure exactly, I cannot confirm, there's just so little information on this phone out there, but it's most probably the RIZR Z12, but as a prototype, it was known as the Motorola Project Skarven. And finally, here is the phone itself. So here it is, the Motorola RIZR Z12 or Motorola Project Skarven, and in this video we'll be going over all the details about this phone, the display, the software, the hardware, everything that I do know about this phone, as there's a lot of stuff that I actually don't know, because obviously this is a prototype, and everything that I do say about this phone is obviously by me using it for the past few months with the limited amount of time that I could use it when it turned on, or the limited bare minimum information that I could find online about it. Nevertheless, it's still nice to see that a phone that was cancelled 14 years ago in 2008 is finally being put on YouTube and reviewed for the entire world to see, and basically to see what this phone could have been and what it would have been like using if it was ever released. So 14 years later, this is the Motorola RIZR Z12, finally in front of a camera, finally in the limelight. Now, I first must note that this is a prototype phone, and I've done a pile of prototype videos on other prototype phones that I do own, which you can find up here in the card above in the playlist card. It's a playlist full of videos on solely prototype devices. So if you like those kind of things, you can go check it out. I'll also link the entire playlist down in the description below for you to go check later, and it's on my channel as well. So definitely make sure to check out the prototype playlist of other prototype devices. There's a bunch of unreleased phones, then unreleased versions of some phones, network testers, software testers, etc., etc. One of the more notable devices is this, the Nokia N8 prototype that I covered a few months ago, last year actually. This is a prototype of the N8, a version of the N8 that was never released. It has a kickstand, a different camera, and a few other differences as well, like these buttons up front. You can find this phone's video up here. I'll put it over here. You can go check that out. So the N8 prototype, just another video in a pile of prototype videos that I've done. Now, I also got this phone in a prototype lot of phones that I bought online, and I got it for a really good price as well, like 85 bucks for the whole lot. And there were like 6 prototypes and 1 or 2 non-prototypes in that lot. There were 8 phones, I think. I'll link the video up here so you can go watch it. So a bunch of prototype phones. They were all Motorola phones, and like I said, 2 are not prototypes. Everything else were prototypes. And the 2 most interesting ones in that lot was this thing and this, which is basically, I don't know what this thing is. It's an MP4 player. It's not a phone. It does not have microphones or an earpiece, but as a camera, the camera module is missing, though. It's empty in there, but it sort of turns on sometimes as well. It's a weird little thing. It probably could have been a future competitor to the iPod Touch. So definitely a device that we'll be viewing in a future video. And this is the only one I've ever seen. There's nothing like this online. I could not find anything close to this online. So it's probably the first time this thing has ever been seen out in the wild. So definitely stay tuned for that video by subscribing, and all the other prototypes I mentioned in that previous video as well. So now let's jump right into the RIZR Z12's video, and as usual, before jumping right in, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up on the like button. Like I already said, show some support to this video. It was really hard to make, and when it gets on YouTube's algorithm, other people can see it as well. And also, if you honestly liked this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button to get notified whenever I upload a new video. I'm on Instagram, Discord, and Twitter, and you can follow me on those using the links down in the description below. And now, let's jump right into this video. So firstly, for a bit of history on this thing, and again, this may be a bit off. Obviously, this phone was never released, so we don't have all the details here, but we can say for certainty it was around 2008 when this thing was supposed to be released, as the Z10 was released in 2007. So of course the Z10 and Z8 successor was to be this phone, but if the Z10 was released in 2007, this should have been released around 2008-ish, probably late 2008. So that was probably around the supposed release date of this phone. It was designed by Motorola's design team, probably in Europe. This was not designed in the US. I have reason to believe, with some articles online and some other stuff that I found online, say that this phone was designed in Europe by Motorola's design team called Motorola. So it's a sort of, I'd say, I wouldn't put it as luxury, but a different design team from that of the US design team based in Motorola, Chicago. But Motorola probably designed in somewhere in Europe, probably Italy, UK, or Germany, or somewhere like that. Designed by Motorola, and was to be a part of the Z series and the successor to the Z10 and the Z8. This phone was also, as you can see, a banana type phone with the bendy mechanism in the middle, so easily a recognizable design from the Z8 and the Z12, however with a semi touchscreen. So they wanted to slowly move on to touchscreens with the Z lineup, as the Z lineup were just mainly button based phones, but they wanted to probably move on to the Z lineup with touchscreens, and this was supposedly the phone to start it eventually and to go on to full touchscreen. But as you will see in this video later on, this is not full touchscreen. This is only this area of the screen has touch navigation. Now, when naming prototype devices, the Motorola division of Motorola gave it usually Nordic nicknames, and the RIZR Z12 is no different, as it's called Skarven, which is a tiny island in Norway, according to Google Maps and stuff, as you can see here. But the word Skarven could mean many things as well. I found online it could mean a collective as well, so I don't know exactly whether they named it after the word Skarven or the island Skarven, but it's most probably the island Skarven. So that's where this phone gets its name from, and that's furthermore proof cementing the fact that this phone was designed somewhere in Europe, probably even Norway, but I cannot confirm if Motorola had design divisions in Norway. But it's either Germany, UK, or Italy, because I know Motorola designed phones in those countries, but they just gave it a Nordic nickname. So it's most probably named after the island called Skarven in Norway, and that just confirms the fact that this thing was designed in Europe. So that is the naming system and where it gets the name Skarven from. So back in 2008, this phone was actually leaked in some photos of a sort of poster-like thing along with some other phones. And as you can see here on screen, it shows it as Skarven. So I'm not really sure whether this was a company poster, because they'll not let the public know in general the name of the phone when it was in development. If this phone was ever released, the public would have almost never known, unless someone went digging, that this phone was going to be called Skarven. So the fact that it's called Skarven here on this poster means that this is probably some Motorola internal thing. Someone snapped a photo and uploaded these online, along with some other ones, as you can see here, with some other phones. I'm not sure if these phones were even released. But furthermore interesting is a video that I'll be playing in a bit that shows the Motorola Project Skarven, or the RIZR Z12, leaked in a promotional video, which obviously was also never publicly released. But this promotional video, I'll play it in a bit so that you can see what it would have been like to see this phone on TV being promoted. So here comes a promotional video. I'm pretty sure there's 2 or 3, and I'll play all of them so you can just see. I'm not gonna play everything, obviously, because in the interest of time here, but I'll link them down in the description below from where I got them so that you can go and watch them as well. So here are the promotional leaked videos. Another fun fact about this phone is it's a part of a trio of phones that was supposed to be released in 2008, which also includes the Motorola RAZR 3, as you can see on the left of this leaked photo, and then the Motorola E10, Motorola Rocker E10, by the way, which was the supposed to be the final rocker phone. So the Motorola Rocker E10, and as you can see on the far right, the Motorola RIZR Z12. This photo, I found it online, and it was posted a few years ago by a user on Twitter. I messaged him and asked him, do you own the other 2 phones? Because I already have the RIZR Z12, and he's like, no, I don't have any of these phones. And it's a photo that he found online as well. So a trio of 3 phones that was supposed to be released in 2008, but all 3 of them were cancelled. The left one being the Motorola RAZR 3, the center one being the Motorola Rocker E10, and the right one being the Motorola RIZR Z12, which we have today. So quite interesting to see that Motorola scrapped 3 entire major release phones back in 2008, but we're not really sure why they did that. But maybe in the future I might get my hands on the other 2 phones, the RAZR 3 and the E10 as well, and we can do some videos on them as well. Now you may ask the question as to why this thing was cancelled, and my answer to that is, I don't know. It's just so hard to gauge why these big companies decide to go all their way to design this really nice looking phone and then finally cancel it at the end. But probably they just wanted to move away from the Z lineup in general and just move on to new things. But it's not really clear exactly why the reason is. Maybe in the future I might speak to some Motorola engineer I find out in the wild and probably update you on that. But I'm definitely looking into talking to a Motorola engineer. So if you ever work for Motorola at some point and you're watching this video and you know about this phone, either let me know down in the comment section below, or message me on Instagram using my Instagram link down below, and let me know what you know about this phone and why it was cancelled. But as far as I can tell, I'm not sure why this phone was cancelled. It looks so good and it's such a nice phone, as you'll see in this video. I just can't tell you why it was cancelled. But if you're a Motorola engineer watching this video, let me know down in the comment section below or on my Instagram in the messages. And here we are in the battery bay, and there's a lot of information on this that I don't understand other than the IMEI number. So I've covered them up just in case I don't really know what those numbers are. But as you can see, it says Test Skarven. So that's where the name is confirmed. It says Test Skarven here in the battery bay, and it says engineering sample over there as well. I've covered it up because it's next to another number. But yeah, that is the Motorola Skarven prototype, and basically that's all its history that I can tell from what I've gathered online and messing with this phone throughout the past few months. Not so detailed, but that's probably all the history that we could ever release on this phone, because it probably just doesn't have that much history. It was just almost released, cancelled at the last moment. Well, not last moment, looking at the phone, this is sort of a mid-development prototype. The design is finalized, but the software and stuff is probably still in development. So I'd call it a late mid-development prototype, but it's definitely not a final stage development prototype. It's easily a late mid-development prototype. So that was the history that I can gather on the Motorola RIZR Z12 or the Motorola Skarven Prototype. So firstly, let's start off by discussing the design and build quality of the Motorola RIZR Z12 and then go on from there. So at first glance, as you can see, this thing is a sleek beast of a device. It's black and a bit of silver-ish accents, and it is a banana phone with the rotating mechanism in the middle, the pivoting mechanism, so that it's easy, it fits in the hand really easy. It was common throughout the Z lineup. A lot of the Z10 and the Z8 also had this mechanism, so that's nice to see. It's a slider phone with a really solid mechanism, sliding mechanism as well. And come on, don't tell me that this phone does not look like something that could be in a Batman movie. Look at this thing. This looks like Batman's phone. It could have easily been in a Batman movie with this look to it. It's really sleek, really professional looking, and the black with a bit of silver on it looks really, really nice. So up front here we have the Motorola logo, as you can see there, with the VJ front camera. And the earpiece is hidden in this nice grill-like thing, and a red light comes out of this when it's on. You'll see that later on in the video. We have the display here, and we have two dots here. That's for the navigation, kind of like a grip, because this thing doesn't have a full touch screen. As you'll see later, it has navigation keys which are touch, so that's there. We have the call button, the decline and accept call button, which are also pressure buttons on the touch screen there, the resistive touch screen. We have the keypad over here, which is a sunk in kind of keypad. So it is textured, but it's sunk in. So when you press, it sinks in. And we have the big chin, common to most RIZR phones. So that's the front of the phone. We can slide it up, slide it down like that. So moving on to the front, to the side of the phone, moving on to the side of the phone, we have a Motorola logo there, and then we have the lock button. When you move it up, it locks the phone like that. And when you move it to the center, it's in neutral position. And this is the power button as well. You pull it down like this to turn the phone on, but it doesn't work properly, so it doesn't always work. The phone turns on only when it feels like, but that's the power button. When you pull it down like that, it's spring-loaded. We have the camera shutter button, which launches the camera sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But you can also map this to some other things, as you'll see later on. We have the micro SD expansion slot over there as well. So moving on to the other side of the phone, as you can see here, we have a Motorola branding over here as well. We have the volume rockers up and down, so volume rockers up and down. And there is another button for play pause as well, so you can play or pause your music using this button. The buttons don't really work, they're kind of finicky, and that's because obviously this is a prototype, but it is what it is. And we have under this flap, we have our 2.5mm headphone jack, so not a 3.5mm, 2.5mm headphone jack, and the micro USB port with a charging LED as well. Moving on to the top of the phone, we have the lanyard strap, so you can put a lanyard on this and hang it from your neck if you want to hang. It's not a heavy phone, so you can, well, it's relatively heavy but not too heavy, so you can put a lanyard strap over there as well for safety. At the bottom of the phone, as you can see, it says very lightly, I don't know if that's even coming up from camera, it says property of, well, no, that's what Nokia says. I cannot really read it at this angle. Okay, there we go. So it says, let me bring it closer. Engineering sample, not for resale. So that's what it says there. Engineering sample, not for resale. I'm using the upwards camera angle for that, and I'm recording the audio of the bottom camera. So there's a bit of discrepancy in the audio, but that's the bottom of the phone. Engineering sample, not for resale. Now moving back to the back of the phone, the sort of back of the phone there. Let's slide up the mechanism again. So the back of the phone, as you can see, very sleek, really Batman-ish design. There's a steel plate over here at the top screwed on. That's for the sliding mechanism. We have the battery cover over here that I removed and showed you earlier. So that's the battery cover over there. We have the 5 megapixel camera. We have the LED flash there as well. This is the SIM card thing. You take it off like that and your SIM card goes in there. So that's a convenient place to put the SIM card. It's not inside the battery bay. And there's these two pieces for the expansion bays over there, two screw holes. So in terms of build quality, this thing feels really premium in the hand. It's fully made out of plastic. There are no metal components here, but it does feel really premium for such an old phone. And it feels solid in the hand. It's built really well. It doesn't creak or squeak or anything like that. And this banana mechanism thing, the bendy thing at the back, the pivot, feels really nice in your hand when you hold it like that. It's built to feel, so it definitely curves around your hand like that. You can hold it like that really comfortably and use it really well. It's also built really well despite it being made out of plastic. And let me bring it closer so you can hear the sliding mechanism lock. So yeah, a really satisfying sliding mechanism. Overall, a very solidly built phone. And the banana mechanism, I keep calling it banana mechanism, but the pivot mechanism is also spring-loaded, and it feels really, really nice and really solid. Doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. These RIZR phones, which also had, the other RIZR phones, which also had that mechanism, were also really well built. So overall, a solidly built phone. It's built out of plastic still, but it does feel really good in the hand. It's fun to use when you're using it and you hold it like that. It feels secure, it feels solid, and it's a really well built phone for what it is. Okay, so now let us discuss the display on this thing, and conveniently while we were going to start discussing the display, this thing's display did turn on and the phone turned on, so we have more footage here. Now the display I measured is about 2.7 inches, so the information I found online got that right. It's about 2.7 inches, but some websites said it's 16 million colors. There's no way this is 16 million colors from 2008. So that's straight out of the way. That's not true. And some websites said it's 720p as well. No, this is not a 720p display. The first 720p display phone was from 2011, as I remember, the HTC Resound, which was released in 2011 on the Verizon network. That was the world's first phone with a 720p display, the HTC Resound. Now, this thing's resolution, from what I can tell, comparing it to a identical phone from 2008, the Motorola E11, which also has a identically sized display, 2.8 inches. This is about 2.7 and that's 2.8 inches, but the Motorola E11 has a basically a resolution of 240 by 320 pixels. So 240 like that and 320 vertically like that. 240 by 320 pixels. So I can safely assume this also has 240 by 320 pixels. And the E11 had a pixel density of about 143 pixels per inch. So since this is slightly smaller, I'd say 150 pixels per inch. So yeah, that's a good estimate of what the display resolution on this thing is probably. So let's say 2.7 inches and 240 by 320 with a pixel density of about 150 pixels per inch. And it's got I'm not really sure about the aspect ratio, but I'll put it on screen up there so you know the aspect ratio. I can't really tell what the aspect ratio is off the top of my head, but that's the aspect ratio over there. And that's when comparing it to the 2008 Motorola E11, which is also quite a rare phone, by the way. And of course, it is a resistive touchscreen. Now, you don't, of course, it's not capacitive. It is a resistive touchscreen, but it's a good resistive touchscreen. It's relatively responsive. And some articles said that sometimes, depending on which application you're on, if you blow up a certain application and start running it, the whole screen becomes touchscreen. I don't think that's the case. I think this area is the only touchscreen portion of the screen here, and the touchscreen works fine as well. So in terms of display performance, it's actually quite bright, but the brightness slider in settings doesn't really work properly, so I really can't tell you. But outside, it does perform really well. And if this phone was released and I had to use it in 2008, I would be perfectly fine with this display. Now, earlier I said that the colors aren't to 16 million, and that's true, it's not 16 million. It's probably about 256,000 colors. I can't get some good photos on this thing, so I can tell, but I think it could be around 256,000 colors. It's decently sharp for what it is. It gets the job done. It's like I said, it's bright outside as well, decently bright. For a pixel density of about 155 pixels per inch, roughly, it is perfectly usable. And if you look closely, you can see the pixel, of course. But for a display from back in the day in 2007, 2008, 2007, it's just perfectly fine. And I would have been happy to use this if it was released in 2008 back in the day. So overall, a very decent display. Nothing out of the ordinary, but nothing bad either. This phone was probably going to be decently expensive, so they had to give it a good display. So this hybrid half touch display is really nice to see. I just hope that if they were going to release this, they fix this button issue here, because the open and the up button actually get double clicked sometimes. So, but overall, a very, very nice display for what it is. And if it was ever released, I would have been perfectly happy using this display back in 2008. So in terms of internal specifications, I couldn't exactly put a finger on exactly what the processor on this thing is. But if you use the Z10, the predecessor to this phone, as an example, the Z10 had a Texas Instruments OMAP 2420, which is a single core processor clocked in at 300 megahertz, and it's based on an ARM 1136 architecture. So ARM 1136, 300 megahertz, Texas Instruments OMAP 2420. So with the touchscreen and stuff on this thing, the semi-touchscreen, this thing is probably got a slightly better processor than the 2420. So I'm not exactly sure what it is. I searched online, but there's a lot of processors, so I'm not exactly sure what, but definitely with the extra features and the slightly better camera and the semi-touchscreen, this thing has definitely a slightly higher clocked version of the 2420 maybe, but definitely either a slightly higher clock version or a better processor than the 2420. But it's definitely Texas Instruments. Those processors are very popular back in the day, and yeah, it's probably around maybe 350 megahertz, slightly a bit higher, but it is what it is. Definitely a Texas Instruments processor. So for internal specifications apart from the processor, we should also talk about the GPU. So the GPU on the Z10 is also a PowerVR GPU, so PowerVR MBX. So the PowerVR MBX is probably on this thing as well, but again, maybe slightly better, or maybe it's a completely different processor as well. It could be the same, it could be PowerVR, but maybe slightly a bit better, of course, to deal with the bigger display and the more graphics needed. Yeah, the graphics card should be a bit more better than the processor when comparing, because this thing has to run a bigger display with a touchscreen and more graphics and stuff. So yeah, the GPU should be a bit more advanced than on the Z10. In terms of internal specifications, I'll show you in a bit. It has 47 megs of RAM and 17 megs of ROM, but it wouldn't make sense because when you go into the camera, now that's the front camera. The front camera on this thing is probably a VGA camera. It says 560 photos remaining. 17 megs and 560 VGA photos seems quite right. So this thing, it says it has 17 megs of internal storage, probably a bit more. It's probably about 30 megs, but with the operating system and all that stuff, the 30 has dropped down to 17, and only 17 is available to use by the user. Let me see if I can, yes, I can bring it up again. So system information, select No, can we get storage information here? Go back, view as grid, go back, help. So that's a different system. I do have it recorded, but I just want, since the phone turned on now, I kind of want to show you that right now. Let me quickly jump to that. So here we are. RAM's 47 megabytes, ROM 17 megabytes. So it's probably accurate. It has 17 megs of internal memory, and it has a micro SD expansion slot as well. At the time, most phones had expansion slots up to 4 gigabytes. So this is also probably up to 4 gigabytes. I cannot confirm, but it is what it is. So 47 megs of RAM, 17 megs of ROM, probably about 4 megabytes of 4 gigabytes of expansion. Texas Instruments processor of some sort, identical to 2420, and a PowerVR GPU. That's probably the rough estimate of what the specs are on the Motorola RIZR Z12. Now let us move on to the operating system on the Motorola RIZR Z12, and the operating system on this thing is really interesting as it's good old Symbian. Yes, it is Symbian, and a specific version of Symbian called Symbian UIQ, which is a variant of the Symbian OS. Nokia also used their own variant of Symbian, and Sony Ericsson also had a few phones that ran Symbian, including this thing, the Sony Ericsson P5i Paris prototype, which was also never released. However, that phone is not as rare as this. This thing is ultra rare. That thing is relatively rare. There's a couple of people who own that thing as well, and that phone works much better than this thing, as it was more polished and more complete, and it was almost a few months away before being released, but due to reasons I mentioned in that video, it was cancelled as well. You can go find that video up in that card and down in the description below as well. I'll link it down below. The Sony Ericsson P5i Paris prototype, a identical slider phone to this thing as well. They are both slider phones, but that thing has a full touchscreen and a stylus as well. And it's a bit newer than this thing. But this runs Motorola's special version of Symbian UIQ, as they put on their other phones as well. But the RIZR Z12, since it has a semi-touchscreen, of course, the UIQ OS had been modified to run this special setup here. And we're going to go into a recording, a roughly 10-minute recording of me messing around in the interface. I'll cut the unnecessary parts out, but the good parts I'll put them in, so you can get a feel for what this phone was like when it works. So here is the Symbian UIQ running on the Motorola RIZR Z12 when this phone actually decides to turn on. And 3, 2, 1, here we go. Alright, so really rudimentally set up my camera and all this stuff here, because this thing managed to turn on here. This is a rare example of this annoying thing actually turning on. So as you can see, the battery says 0 there, but the battery is actually full. I charged it separately. It doesn't understand if it has a full battery or not. The touch, what I can tell is this is not a full touchscreen phone, as you can see there. It uses these arrow keys, but the issue is this open button and this arrow key are very close to each other, so you usually won't accidentally end up clicking the open. Now you have applications. Let's try clicking open now. I think it did that. Where's the camera button on this thing? Let's see if pressing the side button there actually launches the camera. Nope, does not launch the camera. Let's go to the home screen. So this is the home screen apparently. Oh, camera, there we go. See if that turns on. So that's me, that's the front camera. Let's see. Now this is a luxury. I do not get to see this thing turned on most of the time. Where's the rear camera? So let's go back to camera there. How do we switch? How do I switch camera options? Flash mode, capture. Where's the picture quality? So let's see what size, what type of camera this thing is. The size, the megapixel, it doesn't tell me. Come on, do something. Where's the... Oh, so that's the video camera. Where's the front where's the rear camera? How do I... Now, I'm learning as I go, and I'm trying to do this real quick before the thing shuts off, because it will shut off. Trust me, it will shut off. Video size, we can probably tell the... Okay, so 0.08 megapixel, so I'll convert that later to the quality. How do I switch to the front camera? Is that? Oh, it's so confusing. I mean, if I had the leisure of time here, but I know this thing is wanting to shut off at any moment. And I didn't prepare a script, I didn't do nothing. I just saw that this thing turned on and I quickly grabbed actually my iPhone 12 there, my iPhone 12 Pro Max. Usually I record these videos on my iPhone 11, but the 11 storage is full, so I just grabbed what I could and started recording because any footage of it working is some footage. So as you can see, that's the 12 Pro Max there. So yeah, we'll mess with the camera later. It's whatever. This is the OS, applications, don't know what that is, APR UI, Moto Nav, so navigation, debug, tools, web, messaging, agenda, application, what? Agenda? So it's like a to-do list. So control panel is probably like settings. So let's go in there and see. We have, oh, what's that? What's this? No, it's like a vault like thing. I thought that was the camera. So call settings, security, device. See if we can get some information on this thing, because the lack of information on this device is oh, here we go, device information. Come on, just last long enough to show me all the information. Okay, so there we are. Machine reference platform, that's meaning prototype. RAM 47 MB, ROM 17 MB. Come on, version. Show me the rest. Oh, god damn it. Show me the rest. Oh, it doesn't say version. So we know the RAM and the ROM at least. So that's the RAM and the ROM. Is there another place I can find these things? New profile, done. Time and date, number formats, master reset. You know what if I master reset this thing? It probably might actually help this phone. Let's see if we can master reset this thing. Unmark. How do I'm gonna try and actually master reset this thing and see if it helps. So you delete. Okay, god damn it. Battery's too, yeah, I can't be master reset because it thinks the battery is low. No, the battery isn't low. Because I'm pretty sure master reset will actually have, okay, now it's stuck. Sort of. Okay. I'm trying to get as much footage as we can. We're into 5 minutes, so that's good. Then what else do we have here? Some applications that I've never seen before. What is this? Podcast? What does that even do? Podcast manager. My buddies. I have no idea what V Suite. What is that? It's the widgets, applications, WLNA, diagnostics, test. So definitely, it's strange that it doesn't have like a main icon for camera or anything like that. I'm not gonna close the display here because if I close the display, there's a chance it might go back into freaking out. This is a very delicate operation we're doing here. Don't even ask me why I'm not using gloves with such a rare phone. I'm gonna get as much video of this thing as I can with or without gloves. Let's go further into the OS here and see what else it has. So now this I wanted to see which was applications. Let's see what's under other. So that's a voicemail. Okay, I haven't been there before. Come on, back. It's a bit sluggish, obviously. We have, I said earlier, V Suite. I don't know what that is. Widgets, WLA and diagnostics. I kind of wanna go into the settings and test the speakers out. Now the vibrate mode is working, as you probably can hear. The vibrate motor is working, so that's good. Let's go into settings, and I want to see what the speaker sounds like on this thing. So open. Come on. So we have a bunch of settings. This is control panel. Some reason that's security. I thought that was camera. Okay. Control panel, network settings, audible timer, Bluetooth, GPS settings, format disks, camera settings. So the camera settings is in here. Okay, let's see if we can switch camera mode, camera picture settings, storage location, picture settings. Okay, so we saw these specs earlier. That's a thing. Okay. But like, I want to know, how can I switch to the front or to the rear camera? Let's okay, so it's saved settings, so that's their sharpness, camera mode, torch, meaning the flash. Did we test that earlier? I think that's the flash. Select the torch mode on. Okay, so the flash isn't lighting up. That's whatever. Let's save. Come on. No, maybe we had to do that from camera itself. Let's turn that off again. So the touch, like I said earlier, the up arrow and the select button are a bit too close together. But I'm pretty sure if they were going to release this phone, they would have changed something to make it a bit better. Control, audio routing. That's not audio routing. What's that? Audible timer. Where's simple audio settings? Internet settings. Like, okay, I'm pretty sure there isn't like a profile selector on this. This thing is just hardcore prototype. All of these settings will be congested into one big block of settings and in multiple subcategories, but now they're just all over the place because of course this is in testing phase. But usually for a final product, these things would be in one place. Number formats, this is just way too much settings for a small phone like this. So most of these settings will be eventually hidden in the final model. Now we couldn't get more information from there, as I remember. I did the previous recording a few months ago actually. So you have device management, that makes no sense. New profile. Is there no way that I can get audio settings on this thing? Might as well go select the thing that was down there. Let's see what happens. Audio routing. Let's see what happens. Phone speaker. Nope. Select. Why doesn't it let me select it? Okay, so it's just, oh right, so it's the option that or the code or software that selects where the music is playing from. So when you plug a headphone jack, this will automatically detect that you plugged the headphone jack, and then it's going to play from the headphones. Otherwise, it's going to play from the speaker. Now, this is usually hidden. You can't manually do that. It's automatic. But usually on a product, like a final product, it's automatic. You plug in your headphones and you're good to go. But here you can manually select it because, of course, it's a prototype. Audible timer. Yeah, no, we're not getting any audio settings from this. Control panel, network settings, security, control panel, uninstall, install. So uninstall and install are things that are not going to be visible. Everything will be just like manual. So we have some themes. Let's see if we can change a theme here. That sounds nice. Skin, wallpaper, back, options, select. Let's see if we can change the theme here. Applying theme. It's a more lighter theme. There we go. That's nice. So we can actually change the theme. It definitely had more themes when if it was to be released. Yeah, that's nice. You can change the theme to a white. Let's go to the home. So this is, like I said, the main the main menu. I don't know if they would have released it like this, but it makes sense to like use with one hand and just do that, right? But you could probably change it. I couldn't find the settings to change it. Let us again go to options. Now I'm trying to, it seems like I'm just nonsensing around, but this phone turning on and staying on for long is a very, very rare occurrence. So I'm gonna get the most footage that I can out of this opportunity here. So even because it seems really unpolished what I'm doing, it's not properly scripted, it's not properly formatted, and that's because I have to wait for sometimes even up to hours for this thing to turn on, and when it does, there's no time to get a proper format going. So I already mentioned that. I think I forgot what I mentioned in the first video. Like I said, this video is a mess and I apologize for it. That's just because this phone does not cooperate always. But let us go further into oh, what's this? Go today, alarm, open profile. Let's see if it's the same settings or it's a different settings. Okay, that does nothing. Or is it stuck? Ah, we have profiles here. Why? Okay, that's home settings. Oh, we can change the home settings. Oh, we can delete and add stuff. There we go. That's your, let's see. Okay, so that's home settings. We can change the settings of the home screen, which is nice. Come on, it takes a while to load. Come on, go into home settings. Okay, there we go. So plugins, wallpaper, soft keys, camera. Oh, so we have soft keys. We have the right soft key, the camera. So that can be mapped to something. That's nice. Right soft key, that's the camera. So you can map it to whatever you want. Let's see what you can map it to. Probably you don't have all the options now. Okay, so it's not opening. Ah, so you have a lot of options. There we go. Gallery, camera, to do, agenda, calculator, so many things. Holy cow, you can map this to literally anything on this phone. Look at that, look at the slider, how long. So literally any option on the phone that you could launch. I don't know if this will be the same on the final model if it was released, but that's quite nice to know that you can map that to so many things. Let's change, see if we can change the theme here. Choose, okay. Select. So there's some photos on this thing, probably what the previous owner took from that's from the rear camera. See, that's why I'm annoyed. And these are the two photos that I took. So the front camera is a bit whack. I'm not going to open those photos. One is a cat, one is a picture of a TV, but you can change your wallpaper. So that's nice to know. It doesn't have any, I don't think it has any stock wallpapers on it. They probably haven't loaded them on yet, but we have these settings again as well. So let's go back. Now we have our profiles. Let's see if we can bring up some ringtones. Options. Where's personal? Okay, it's edit here. It's not personalized like Nokia. Ringing volume, theme name, calls, voice call ringtone. Ah, there we are. No. Show me the ringtones. Show me the ringtones. Find sound. Okay, it's worded weird. Aha, there we go. Options. Open. Ah, bummer. There's nothing. It's empty. So they haven't loaded ringtones onto this thing. That's kind of sad. Let's see his music. I mean, if it's copyrighted, I can't play it. But okay, so we don't have. Well, it says bells there. Why can't I play? Oh. Come on. Is the volume up? The volume rocker on this thing is a bit weird as well. Ah, play. Let's see. Ooh. There we go. Let's see. Bells, play. Signal. Standard. Silent. There, of course, there's nothing. Fine sound. So let's play that set again. So those were the ringtones that I can access. Under Find Sound, there isn't really anything we can do. It's just basically, it's not, the rest have not been included. So, but it's nice that we could do something and play some ringtones. So that's very nice. So that was the operating system on the Motorola RIZR Z12, the specific Symbian UIQ OS that's on this phone. And probably the reason this phone is malfunctioning is because that OS is really unstable and really unpolished. But hey, it's a prototype, it's what it is. So it's really nice to see this phone in working condition here on camera in 2022. And now let's move on to everything else about this phone. Okay, so now it's time to talk about the camera on this thing, and the camera on the Motorola RIZR Z12 is a 5 megapixel shooter with 8x zoom, and it's an autofocus camera as well. It can shoot video at VGA resolution at 30 frames per second, so a pretty decent camera for the time. Moving on to the front of the phone, we can see the front video call camera, which is a VGA camera, so 0.3 megapixels, and it can shoot video at a QVGA resolution. So QVGA is probably about 15 frames per second roughly. So QVGA 15 frames per second, VGA front camera, and the rear camera, like I said, 5 megapixel, 30 frames per second, VGA video recording, autofocus as well. And I say I'm not sure because I could not get any recordings out of this onto a computer, so I cannot show you camera samples because the rear camera cannot be accessed for some reason. I tried everything I can, as you'll see in a bit, but I could not access the rear camera, and it's stuck on the front camera. And when you do try to take a photo with the front camera, you can see the viewfinder, you can see your hand moving and all that stuff. The camera works fine, but the post-processing doesn't do its job, and it just like ends up in a blurry mess, like green and pink mess. You'll see when I show you the camera interface. So the front camera it's stuck on the front camera. I could not access the back camera, and I could not keep the phone on long enough, powered on long enough for me to copy the camera samples onto a computer. The previous user, or the Motorola engineer, has taken a photo with this thing, probably from the rear camera. It seems like a bigger photo, but I cannot put that photo on, of course, due to it's probably his personal, it's his house or something, and the other reason is I cannot copy it onto a computer. So the camera samples are absent in this video, so I apologize for that. Maybe in the future I may be able to get some photo samples out of this thing. So now let's move on to the interface for the Motorola RIZR Z12's camera. Let me go into the camera here, and I can show you again. It's stuck on the front camera, so the camera shutter button doesn't do anything. Oh, that's strange. It didn't do that earlier. I swear it didn't do that earlier. Or was I not pressing that hard enough? Okay, so now the camera shutter button launches the camera. Interesting, but as you can see, it's the front camera that's activated, and I just cannot find a way to get the rear camera to turn on. I called it a VGA camera, and I was right. There we go. It's 0.3 megapixels, so that's VGA. I cannot get the rear camera to turn on, and the front camera, when you take a photo, it does. It's really blurry, and like it's got green. There you go. It's got lines across it and stuff. So the camera really doesn't work properly. It's not the camera actually. The camera works properly. It's just that the processing is a bit buggy, and there's no way I can access the rear camera on this thing. Return to viewfinder. Let's go. The back button doesn't seem to work there. So this seems to be the camera interface as far as it goes. When this phone was being developed, but I'm pretty sure this camera interface would have been a bit more polished when this phone was launched, hopefully polished, because it's a bit messy, as you can see there. It doesn't let me go back either, so the camera interface is definitely a bit flawed. Let's do that again. Okay, hopefully it opens. Come on. Okay, there we go. So that's the front camera working. So the VGA front camera. I cannot get this thing to actually go into the the main camera, no matter what I do to the settings. So we have video mode, multi-mode, flash settings, white balance, sharpener, all the general stuff. Picture quality, I can show you here. So you have medium, high, low. Come on, go back. Let's do picture size, so I can show you that it's 5 megapixels, as you the front camera. Oh, you have a bunch of settings over here. So the max is 0.3, which is VGA, and you have a bunch of other smaller settings as well, sub VGA settings. We can go into further settings over there, and then we have our flash mode, our torch, which you can select to have it constantly on, the flash, multi-shot, camera mode, camera effects, sharpness, white balance, storage location, so you can select the storage location, phone memory, because there's no memory card installed, and camera sounds, reset file name, restore to factory settings. There's furthermore picture settings. Now this would have been congested into one settings bar, but since this thing is a prototype, they have all the settings wide open, but this would have been more streamlined. And there's your camera sizes and stuff. The front camera 0.3, the main camera 5 megapixel. We have a bunch of other settings as well. The video quality, it just says high, it doesn't show me what the resolution and stuff. Well, there we go, that's actually the resolution of the video. So 0.08 megapixels. The frames per second, I'm not sure exactly what that is. It's probably about 15 frames per second, something like that. But I would have put it up earlier, this converted, even though I said I don't know, because that's just okay, there we go. It freaked out, the display freaked out, but yeah. 0.08 megapixels, which I put it up there earlier. Okay, now moving on to battery and power. Now, since this thing didn't come with its original battery, I cannot exactly tell you what the battery could have been on this phone. However, with some estimating based on the battery bay size and stuff, I can say it's either the BK71 or the BK70. Now, the closest phone to this is the Z10, which uses the BK70, which is a 1130 milliamp hour battery, and the BK71 is an upgrade with 1170 milliamp hours. So it's either one of the two batteries that went in this, because it's identical to the Z10 in terms of size and stuff. And the battery bays are really identical. I don't have a Z10 with me, but I'll probably get one eventually. So on the 2G network, the Z10 got 400 hours of standby and 7 hours of talk time. So this thing, with a bit more specifications and a slightly bigger display, maybe 350 hours of standby and about 6.5 hours of talk time is a good estimate. Probably what this could have got, but I cannot keep it turned on for more than 12 minutes, so I don't know. And this replacement battery that I got is also really old. So probably with a 1170 milliamp hour battery, 350 hours standby, 6.5 hours talk time on 2G. I cannot really gauge the 3G network, maybe a bit less than that. Of course, 3G uses more data, uses more battery, but it is what it is. It could have also been the BC50 and the BC60 batteries, but I think these batteries are just too small, and this battery fits perfectly with the battery bay door being able to close. So I can put this battery in and I can close the door properly. So it makes no sense to put such a tiny battery in this phone, because there's a lot of space as well. So it's definitely the BK70 or the BK71. About 400 hours of standby, 7 hours of talk time on the 2G network. So that is the battery performance for the RIZR Z12 based on the Z10's performance. So now for some additional features, and apart from the gorgeous design, the extra, the bigger 5 megapixel camera and everything else, the bigger display, the touchscreen and stuff, apart from that, it is nothing more than another successor to the Z lineup. It was just not released. That's the only big thing here. It does not have any hidden unreleased technology, like for example the Nokia McLaren's 3D touch technology or something like that. It just was a phone that wasn't released. However, it's still one of the more interesting and rarer phones that I've ever seen. It's really, really rare. I've seen only a few of them online, a few in some photos, and this is the only one that I've seen working. So based on the Z10 again, some of the features that it may have, voice memo organizer, the ability to open PDF and Word documents. This phone has, of course, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as well. Also, the Z10 had Bluetooth and Wi-Fi as well. And of course, it has A2DP. However, something interesting that the Z10 does not have, well, two things, is GPS and radio. This thing, according to what I saw in the OS and I showed you earlier, has radio under media, and it also had GPS. So the additional new features were software, well, there are hardware features accessible by software, but this thing has radio and GPS. The Z10 did not have radio and GPS. So that's an upgrade to the Z10 and the Z8, which did not have radio and GPS. But Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, A2DP, the Z10 also had them, and this thing also has them. So those were just the extra features. There's nothing else much to talk about. The main features were the display and the extra camera and the new stuff, and of course this gorgeous design. So we've come to the end of this video, and what do I have as a conclusion for this? It's just really nice to see that this phone is finally in front of the camera, and I keep saying this, but it's just been 14 years since this phone was cancelled, and it's nice to see that this thing is finally out, and everyone who was waiting to see this phone on video, all my subscribers and a few people on Instagram, they're waiting for me to release this video, and I hope I have done right by you by making this video. I know it's sort of a mess, and I know it's not as formatted as my other videos, but hey, the RIZR Z12 is finally in front of a camera, and it's a good, I think probably 1 hour of content. I'm not sure if 40 minutes or 1 hour. I've been recording all day. So definitely the review it never got. So a really interesting phone. We aren't really sure why this thing probably was cancelled. We're not, it could be due to some internal thing with Motorola. Maybe they saw no point in the touchscreen. Maybe they just wanted to move away from the Z lineup because the Z10 was technically the last Z phone. But it's really nice to see a phone that was cancelled so many years ago, and it's finally in front of the camera. A very interesting phone, a very sleek Batman-ish looking phone, really well built, nice camera. I wish I could have had camera samples up. The UIQ interface is interesting. The design, everything is just interesting about this phone. Easily the one of the top 5 phones that one of the top 5 most interesting phones that I do own, and there's just so many other phones that I want to cover on this channel, but I just didn't have time, namely the other unknown Motorola device, which this thing, I think it's an MP4 player. I'm not sure, it could be anything. I think it's an MP4 player. This thing is unknown. This thing has never been seen in any photos other than the ones I posted. So this is rarer than the Z12. So this is a video to stay tuned for by hitting the subscribe button. Definitely stay tuned for this. We'll be getting into this next in probably mid-summer in 2022. So definitely stay tuned for that. We aren't even sure what that thing is. So yeah. The Motorola RIZR Z12 or Project Skarven. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you honestly did, please leave a big thumbs up on the like button down below. This video was so hard to make, but I still made it somehow. And if you honestly really liked it, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell notification button. And stay tuned for all the upcoming other prototype videos. Like I mentioned, that and all the, I have a few more Motorola prototypes, a Motorola Z tablet prototype as well. So definitely stay tuned for those in upcoming videos. And I thank you for watching this, and this was the Motorola RIZR Z12 here in 2022. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think about this phone, a big thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.